on the traditional territories of the Comox First Nation. We would like to thank them for the privilege of living on their land and the gift of working with their children. I hope everyone has been having a really good summer so far. I'm glad to see the people in the room that made it today. Yeah, I'm just happy to get moving with our agenda tonight. So number 4 is the adoption of the agenda. That the Board of Education of School District Number 71, Comox Valley, adopt the August 25th, 2026 regular board meeting agenda as presented. Moved by Janice, seconded by Christy. All those in favor? Great. I'm just double checking that everyone online is, everything's looking good there, Josh. Thank you so much. Perfect. Number 5 is adoption of the board meeting minutes. So the Board of Education of School District Number 71, Comox Valley, adopt the June 23rd, 2026 regular board meeting minutes as presented. Chelsea, seconded by Shannon. All those in favor? Great. And there's a record of our in-camera meeting minutes from June 23rd. And presentations and delegations. We have a rural school funding presentation from the Parents Advisory Committee of Hornby Island Community School. Welcome. Nice to see you.
I need to point this. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak today. I don't have a super loud projection voice, so let me know if you can't hear me. My name is Lila. I'm the current PAC president of the Hornby Island Community School. I'm here with Amy and Katie today. We're here representing parents and community members who care deeply about public education on Hornby. Our goal today isn't to revisit past decisions, it's to share what we've learned from the middle years experience and to propose a way to plan differently together. A quick note before we begin, the speaker notes that were circulated we planned for a 20-minute presentation and then realized we were. So it's a if you want more detail, just read the notes that were sent to you. Okay. So over the past 2 years, Hornby's separate middle years class demonstrated a different way of supporting early adolescents in a rural setting. For 2026-2027 school year, we learned that the class would not continue due to enrollment. The community response was significant. More than 120 people supported our advocacy, which was roughly 10% of Hornby's population. Since then, we've spoken with school and district leaders, our trustee, community organizations, our MLA, and people involved with NIDES. Those conversations really broadened our thinking. What started as a concern about one class has become a much larger question. How do we create stable and equitable education in a small rural community? And to understand why that can be difficult, it's important to understand some of the realities of educating students in Hornby. So rural equity, of course, does not always mean providing the exact same model everywhere. Sometimes it means applying a different model than one designed primarily for larger urban settings. Hornby families navigate ferry schedules, weather and cancellations, limited transportation, and fewer local services. Students attending school off island can face 10 and 11-hour days. Some 12-year-olds are ready for that transition and others aren't. And not every family has the same ability to manage the practical and financial demands of an off-island transition. But these realities really affect our whole school. When specialists travel to our school, ferry time significantly reduces the time available with students, and staffing is similarly affected. In a very small school, even minor changes in enrollment can have a major impact on programming and staffing from one year to the next. We understand that the provincial funding model is not something ST71 can simply change. But our question is different. Within that reality, can the resources that already exist, district resources, school resources, and our community capacity be used differently to create greater stability and more equitable outcomes? And that brings us to what we've already seen work here and how closely it aligns with SD71's priorities. So while we were doing this work over the last many months and looked at SD71's strategic priorities, what struck us was how closely the middle years experience we've just had was already aligned with them. Personalized and experiential learning, inclusion and belonging, relationship building, and flexible learning weren't just ideas on paper. We saw them happening in practice. Students learn from people in our community with expertise in science, music, math, art, literature, and natural history. Learning happened on beaches, in gardens, community spaces, as well as in the classroom. There were opportunities beyond Hornby too, including the Quebec Exchange, contributing to the UBC archives, and some of their work even reaching CTV and CBC. So when we look at the district strategic plan, we realized we weren't asking SD71 to move in a different direction. A lot of what the district says it wants for students was already happening on Hornby. It just looked a little different because it was happening in our small rural community. And I think that's a useful question for us now. What can we learn from what worked? The model itself was relatively simple, as you guys would be aware. SD71 rented a community space for $379 a month, provided the furnishings, and hired a very highly qualified teacher. Combined with the resources already available on Hornby, that created opportunities for place-based learning, community partnerships, leadership, and greater independence. We saw strong connection to learning, to peers, and to the broader community. What matters is that these outcomes weren't dependent on recreating a conventional middle school on Hornby, and we're not saying this exact model needs to be replicated. What it gave us was real-world evidence. It showed that a relatively small investment combined with community capacity and a flexible approach where and how learning happens can expand what is possible for rural students. It also maintained meaningful choice. Again, some students are ready and excited to transition to Banyan in grade 8, and others benefit from another year in a smaller setting before making that transition. And we really believe that there's value in having both pathways available. We didn't end up with the visual we had hoped for here, but a significant part of the success of our program was in our strong teacher leadership. Heather developed the program intentionally around this particular setting, bringing together curriculum, place-based learning, community expertise, and the needs of this age group. Over these 2 years, she developed and refined a framework based on that experience and has offered to speak further about both the success and challenges of the program. We think this experience is important, is an important part of what can inform this conversation going forward. So this is where we would like to shift from what worked over the last 2 years to talk about what might be possible going forward. Hornby has a strong network of community organizations, a long history of a community school, and an established outdoor and place-based learning, and people willing to contribute expertise and resources. There are a number of things worth exploring: different grade configurations, guides and blended learning, community partnerships, and a different approach to rural service delivery. We're not presenting any one of these as the solution today. What we're suggesting is an opportunity to work together on a rural model that can adapt to changing enrollment while giving students and families more stability from year to year. And if we develop something that works here, there may be pieces of it that are useful in other small rural communities as well. So before we lay out our specific proposal, we want to be clear about what families are not and are asking for. We're not asking to eliminate the Vanier pathway. For many students, Vanier is absolutely the right choice. We're not asking for permanent staffing regardless of enrollment numbers. And we're not asking the board to make any decisions today. But what we are asking for is more predictable and a more predictable and transparent process. We'd like meaningful consultation to happen early enough that families, school staff, and district can actually explore options together. And we'd like more flexibility on what those options might look like. We think there's an opportunity to do this differently, which brings us to our proposal. So we propose a rural education working group, bringing together district staff, school leadership, families, community partners, and NIDES. We also think that there may be a good argument for including Denman, given the rural realities that we share. The mandate would be practical, to develop a stable and flexible rural school planning model. There are a number of questions we think could be explored. How could we create more stability in the middle years without depending on one particular enrollment number each September? Could different grade configurations, NIDES, or blended learning provide more flexibility? How can we make better use of community partnerships and expertise, not as a replacement for teachers or district services, but as an additional resource? And could specialist services be organized differently when ferry travel takes up so much of the available time? We don't know the answers to these questions, and that's why we are proposing a working group. We'd like to invite the board representatives to come to Hornby, hopefully, and see some of these things that we are talking about. And we realize that people from the district do visit, but to meet with the PAC as a working group, with the goal of developing a more predictable way of planning for years in the future. So ultimately, this is what success would look like for us. Families knowing their options early enough to plan, students having meaningful choices, decisions about programming that don't feel completely like a completely new question every year, and the rural realities like ferries, travel time, weather, small and fluctuating enrollment are part of the planning from the onset. We know there are constraints, and we aren't expecting a fixed model that never changes. We're asking for a better process for planning through these changes together. So now that you've heard our proposal, we do appreciate your thoughts on what might realistically be possible from here. If there's an opportunity to continue this work, what would be a reasonable next step? And who would be the best district contact for us moving forward? We'd like to leave today with a sense of if we can keep this conversation going. Thank you for listening, and the opportunity to bring it forward, and we look forward to working together.
Thank you so much. I commend you on a 20-minute presentation going back to such a thorough 10-minute. Like, it was extremely well done. I guess the short answer to one of your questions is that the district contact for you would be Jeremy Morrow. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to come over and really give us a thorough presentation. I think most of us have been to Hornby, and you know, we have our trustee liaison for Hornby that keeps us updated on some of the complications that happen there and some of the unique experiences over there. So we appreciate all that information. Lila, Amy, and Katie, I just really, I mean, you're welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but I know you probably have to take a ferry home to Hornby. Travel is one of the unique things that happens to students and parents on Hornby. So, but yeah, I would thank you again for the presentation. We appreciate your time, and yeah, connect with Jeremy.
Space for any questions or no?
For sure. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Jen.
Who's first?
Yeah, go ahead, Christine.
You brought that first side.
Okay. I'm curious, as a Cortes Island resident, if you've communicated with some of the different islands and some of our other rural communities, because we have rural communities all over Vancouver Island. And so I'm curious if you've reached out to some of the other small communities with the same challenges as you and I hear you. Yeah, rode the ferry over myself today, the two ferries, just like you guys. So I'm curious. That's my curiosity.
So especially in the time prior, like the 2 years ago when my cohort was advocating for the program, yes, we did reach out to Cortez. Recently, the MLA said, why don't you talk to Banfield? But we are in the Banfield situation, we're not talking with the school district, we're talking with the nonprofit that helps run things. And what we were looking for more was like, what has the school district done to help with this too? Yeah. So we reached out to, I mean, I think we did some pretty thorough research, but yes, we did reach out a bit to Cortez and.
So she, Christy alluded to my question and my ask. Our association has what's called a rural and working committee that is talking exactly about what you're talking about. You look at Malcolm Island, I know that Port Hardy, Port Alberni, Salt Spring, Gulf Islands, the ferries and the remote island is a really big concern. So my ask is, can I take this information and share it with the chair of that rural and working committee to let them know that, and just give him some information as he meets with the ministry and our association when they talk about how to support rural and remote schools, especially those with ferries. Who may support our cause and also support you in that, because that ferry transportation, as you alluded to, Cortez, my work, I got stuck on Quadra Island one time for 4 hours because the ferry decided it wasn't going to run because the tides were moving. I understand with teachers and students, and I was on the ferry waiting for the school kids from Quadra Island to get back to Quadra Island. So it's a well-known on that one there. So I just want to ask your permission to share this information with our rural and remote school committee, that they can bring that forth and maybe give your contact information if they have any questions. Because the more voices you get to support some of the rural remote areas and that funding discrepancy that we have for our remote schools. I mean, we get a little bit extra money, but to be honest with you, it's not just our district, it's provincial-wise. There's a gap in supporting those families that live in remote islands, whether it's Stewart Island, whether it's Quadra, whether Cortez, Malcolm, Hornby, Denman, Gulf Islands there. There's a big need for the ministry to step up and get a little extra money to school to support you guys. So I didn't want to do that while asking your permission first.
It's good. And we have, I'm not sure if it's the same organization, but we have a representative named April Lewis, and she is on the provincial rural schools committee. She's on the
Community Schools Alliance.
Yeah.
Alliance.
And they are hoping to talk with the Ministry of Rural Communities or something that's been developed.
Okay. Yeah.
Trying to go from different angles.
Yeah, the more voices and support we can give you guys, the more we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
Great. Is there any other questions?
No, the only thing that I think is also comforting for to share is that though Jeremy is our superintendent, you also came from experience working as a principal on a small island as well, if you don't mind me sharing. And I think that that experience sort of lends itself to some, solutions that we can all find together. So I'm really grateful when we can have conversations, because some of your experience I've certainly never had, and I think it helps to wrap around all of these barriers that are faced, much like the one where, as you were sharing, they're on their way back to Denman, not to Hornby tonight because they can't get home. Okay. So I only share that I think that experience in your career has been really helpful as well. So
thanks. If I could add, I didn't want to jump in.
Right.
But I do want to just say, I'm excited to connect and about the conversation. I just thought that the sophistication, insight, and wisdom that's laden throughout your presentation. I think one of the things that I also appreciated is that the intention of a rural school isn't to replicate what happens in town, because a rural school, we don't have a lens of deficiency when we look at rural. It's got its own unique attributes, its own beautiful things that only can happen on Hornby Island. So I think that the magic piece there is how can we, in town, support more robustly the unique context of a rural school. And I think that there are ways to do that. And I think the other piece is likely Hornby, similar to Cortez, has a disproportionate number of people with incredible talents and skills that are willing to share it with our youth, expose them to all of these wide variety of things. So So I look forward to the work. And I think I particularly hear the importance that when we are, allocating staffing in town in that sort of 3 divisions over here, 6 divisions over here is a different mindfulness around what the impacts that has in a small community like Hornby, and having the thoughtfulness to go out and meet prior to that announcement to discuss what those implications are, to hear directly from you. And that clearly was a step that's missed that we own, that we'll make sure doesn't happen again. But I think what I appreciate, it's a little bit like working with students where they come with issues and some possible solutions. So like the gift is like you identified issues, concerns, and problems, and a whole bunch of actions with potential solutions. I look forward to taking some steps with you.
With appreciation for you being our connecting person and the fact that September is probably bananas, would it be realistic to say we could reach out to you October 1st, or that you something like that? What would be a good timeline?
We'll connect in September and then set a time for October for a face-to-face.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you again so much.
Safe travels home. Yeah. Eventually. I get you, girl.
6 on the last.
I know.
Okay. So announcements, the next report we have is our superintendent's report. I'll hand it over to you, Jeremy.
Yeah, a couple of updates. Now that the crowd's divided in half, I'm ready to speak.
Yeah, feel free to move closer if you like.
But just wanted to connect about some of the great work that operations has done and been busy doing throughout the summer, getting ready, getting our schools and facilities ready. So some notable projects that have happened over the summer months include landscaping improvements at Aspen Park, portable upgrades at Vanier, safety guard installations in middle and secondary school shops, fire alarm inspections, paving and play court upgrades at Brooklyn Elementary, and deep cleaning at all district sites. So I wanted to thank everyone who's worked behind the scenes to make sure our schools are safe, welcoming, and ready for students and staff. Finance have been busy with year-end financial statements, with ministry reporting. Human resources have been onboarding new employees, finalizing assignments, and working to ensure our schools are fully staffed, and things are looking good at the moment. Our IT team has continued maintaining district systems and preparing technology for the return of students and staff. And while we talk about returning students and staff, we've had over 30 staff and hundreds of students working throughout the summer through NIDES. So I just wanted to thank all of our folks who have worked so hard this summer to support the work of getting ready and also sustaining the good work of our schools. I wanted to mention that the Comox Valley Pride celebrations take place this weekend, which includes the Pride Parade and Pride in the Park in Courtney on Saturday. We expect another strong contingent of Comox Valley school staff, students and families and trustees to participate, and are encouraging people to come out and join them if you're able. Pride is an opportunity to celebrate, but it is also a reminder of the responsibility we all have to ensure that everyone feels respected, supported, and able to be themselves fully in our schools. And we know from our students and staff and what they tell us that work remains to be done to ensure that every student feels safe in our schools. Another note of safety: as students return, our roads, intersections, and school zones are going to become much busier, so we're just asking everyone to be mindful. And particularly, we've seen in the news a number of news bits about young ones with e-bikes and electric scooters, and being mindful. Families need to take note of the rules for BC's rules around these modes of transportation. And also would like to remind community members that we're hosting a school trustee candidate information session tomorrow night, or tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock at the board office. So this is for anyone who's interested in running for school trustee or simply learning more about the role. It will cover trustee responsibilities, time commitments, board governance, and the election process. And of course, the general election will take place on October the 17th. Another important update is that our district's annual consent week is moving to the 3rd week of October. This week provides a dedicated opportunity for age-appropriate learning and conversations about consent, respect, personal boundaries, and healthy relationships. And we'll have more information and resources will be shared with schools and families closer to the date. We are excited to announce that the new artificial turf field at GP Vanier is almost near completion. The goal is to have the field open in early September, potentially in time for the first day of school, but not quite open yet. So it's still an active construction site, but we're looking forward to the grand opening. And then I just wanted to finish with just some thinking about the year ahead. So recently I was reminded and then have been reflecting on one of the qualities that makes public education so remarkable. That every single person who walks through our doors is unique. There is no such thing as a group of students. Rather, each child and youth bring their own story, their own interests, their strengths, and way of seeing the world. Some in our schools will discover gifts that they already know they have. Others will uncover talents that they never knew existed. Some will shine in the classroom, others will find their place on a stage. Maybe it's a playing field, a workshop, a laboratory, or the library, or through the relationships they build with others. But our job is not to make every student the same. Our job is to create the conditions for every student to discover who they are, what they can contribute, and how they can be uniquely great. But the same is true for the adults who make our schools extraordinary. Our Indigenous support teams, teachers, principals, support staff, custodians, office professionals, and the many others who bring different experiences, passions, ideas, and strengths to their work. It is this diversity of gifts that makes our school communities stronger. This year, I hope that we ask ourselves an important question as adults: what opportunity can we create today that may allow someone to discover or share what makes them uniquely great? For one student, that opportunity may be from the encouragement of a teacher who sees potential in that young life before they see it themselves. For another, it may be a chance to lead, to create, to perform, to build, to question, to collaborate, or simply to belong. When we recognize and nurture the unique strengths of others, we do more than improve learning. We build confidence, belonging, purpose, and hope. As we welcome students and staff back, I want to remind us all that excellence does not look the same for everyone, that there is no single path to success, and there is no single definition of greatness. Our responsibility as public educators is to open doors, to provide challenge and support, encouragement with high expectations, opportunities, and second chances, so that every learner can find their own path. So I am hopeful. I'm hopeful that this year is a year of discovery, possibility, and opportunity, a year in which every student and every adult has the chance to be uniquely great. So welcome back, and I look forward to the work that we will all do together.
Yay, well said. Thank you very much for that. I always feel so happy after you. No, I'm just like, oh. Okay, so standing committee reports, ad hoc policy committee, Shannon Aldinger, committee chair. Hand it over to you.
Thanks for the inspiring introduction, following Jeremy. Yeah, so we had our last ad hoc policy committee meeting the day before our last board meeting, so that was June 22nd. Didn't have the report quite ready for the last agenda package, but that board report is at pages 59 to 61 of the agenda package. At our last meeting, we went through and made further revisions to a number of key policies, the role of the board, the role of the superintendent, and the delegation of authority policies. We're bringing them to the board today to pass and have, through Candace's kind help, have both the versions that include all of the edits that are visible to board and other guests, and then full policies as well for clearer reading. And we'll certainly go through each of them briefly. Most of the changes are in relation to tightening language, updating language, consistency of language, and just a bit more clarity in certain areas. I don't recall any major changes, but we can go through them.
Does it make sense if you move a motion and we second it, and if anyone has any comments, and then we can all in favor and just move through? Does that make sense? I can let you go ahead with that if you'd like.
So the first motion is the first policy that has been revised is the longest one. It's the role of the board, found at pages 31 to 46. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education of School District Number 71, Comox Valley, approve the revised role of the board policy as presented.
Seconded by Chelsea. Does anyone have any comments? Yep, go ahead, Janice.
Yeah, just say thanks, Shannon, and for all the work that she's done. Just a quick reminder that these three policies were recommended from the BCSTA, as every board needs to go through and update and mandated them. So we're just following what we were suggested by BCSTA to work with Secretary Treasurer and that to make sure all our policies were in line, as Trustee Alder said, with the language and updating policy and whatever it is. So that's one of the reasons why we did them when we did them, is because it was just part of our job to finish them off and make sure that they're in compliance with what BCSTA has asked us to do as a board.
Yeah, thanks, Janice. That's great additional info there. I don't see anybody with any hands up, so I'll just all those in favor. That motion's passed.
All right, our second motion tonight, that the Board of Education of School District 71, Comox Valley, approve the revised role of the superintendent policy as presented. That policy is found at pages 47 to 55 of the agenda package.
Seconded by Christy May. Any discussions? All those in favor? Motion's passed.
Right, third motion, that the Board of Education of School District Number 71, Comox Valley, approve the revised delegation of authority policy as presented, and that's found at pages 56 to 58 of the agenda package.
Seconded by Janice. Any comments on that one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's passed.
Another point of discussion at our last committee meeting was the recent direction from the ministry around a few changes to child's care and the request that boards also review their current childcare policies and make any necessary revisions as part of their next set of priorities. And so this next motion is that the Board of Education of School District Number 71, Comox Valley, review and revise the childcare policy as essentially a next priority for our next policy committee.
Seconded by Christy May.
Excuse me.
Any other dialogue on that direction? Oh, go ahead, Janice.
So just a bit of understanding. So this will go to the new committee that we have. So this will be part of the work that the new committee's already got something to look at when they do. Am I correct in understanding that you said policy committee is actually going to that new working group of the community, correct?
That's right. Our new Policy and Education Committee will take over the policy work, and this would be among the priorities for that new committee. So
I have work to do already.
Started. Yeah, exactly. All those in favor? Great.
And then the final motion coming from the Policy Committee is that the Board of Education of School District Number 71, Comox Valley, receive the Ad Hoc Policy Committee Board Report dated June 22nd, 2026. And that is found at pages 59 to 61 of the agenda package.
Seconded by Christy. Everyone had a chance to look at that. I don't see any hands, so all those in favor? Wonderful. So moving along to the Education and Policy Committee Terms of Reference. Those are on page 62, 64. Need if I can get a chance to have a peek at those. Yeah.
Okay, that the Board of Education of School District Number 71 Comox Valley approved the Education and Policy Committee terms of reference as presented.
Seconded by Chelsea. Great, everyone's had a chance to take a peek at those. All those in favor? Great. Okay. And our next, hold on, I just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing here. There we go. And our next committee meeting is September 15th, 6 p.m. at the board office. And the next item is our Support Services Committee terms of reference. Everyone had a chance to take a peek at those? Great. Chelsea?
Sure. That the Board of Education of School District Number 71 Comox Valley approve the Support Services Committee terms of reference as presented.
Thank you. Seconding that, Shannon. Great. Any comments? All those in favor? That motion's passed as well. And our, I guess not next committee meeting, our first committee meeting, which I should have said before, is September 16th at 6 p.m. in the school board office.
Good seats are still available.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll move to the audit committee terms of reference. That's okay. Everyone get a chance to have a peek at those. Go ahead, Chelsea.
Read that the Board of Education of School District Number 71 Comox Valley approve the Audit Committee terms of reference as presented.
Get a seconder, Christy May. Thank you very much. And I don't see anyone with any comments there, so I'll do an all in favor. Thanks, everyone. That's passed. And the first committee meeting for that will be September 16th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. here at the school board office. And there is no committee of the whole board report at this time. Our next open committee of the whole meeting will be April 20th, 2027 at 7 p.m. here at the board office. Subject matter TBD. Right?
Yeah, I think it might be budget time.
Budget time.
Depending on the process, but
Yeah,
It's always budget time.
it's always budget time.
Great.
Time, yeah.
we'll look forward to that. And so our board chairperson, Michelle, did some good work connecting with the trustees on the assignments for some of these standing board committees, and they're listed there on page 3 of the agenda in a little box there. I'm not sure if the chair had any comments at this time on them, but I know that it was a little bit of work connecting with everyone and getting everyone sorted out. So thank you so much for that. And there's a motion there. Yeah.
That the Board of Education of School District Number 71 Comox Valley approve the recommended trustee assignments to standing board committees. And then seconded.
And Shannon's seconding it. All those in favor? Great. It's passed. And information items under Learning Services, Indigenous Education Enhancement Agreement. Joe Heslop, take it away.
Thank you. Good evening. Hiding behind the pole here. It's wonderful to be here with you this evening on the territory of the Petlatch, Ikes, and Shawflut and Sasitla. Lelena Jules, as far away as possible over there, and I were together this evening to share the attached briefing note regarding the Indigenous Education Enhancement Agreement information update. You can find this on page 74 through 76 in your board package. This briefing note provides a brief history in the district's most recent enhancement agreement, as well as a snapshot of the priorities, the challenges, and next careful and deliberate steps of the Indigenous Education Department, highlighting the importance of the 4 R's, that of respect, relevance, representation, and reciprocity. So at this time, Lelena and I humbly recommend that the board receive the Indigenous Education Agreement update as presented, and we welcome any questions, comments, concerns.
Go ahead, Christy.
I was curious how staffing is going this year with the positions that we had open. So I'm excited that hopefully the summer was fruitful.
Yeah, so we we're working on 3 new Indigenous student success teachers at the high schools. 2 out of 3 are filled. We have 1 that is going to be posted again, and we are almost full house with Indigenous support workers. We recently hired an early literacy teacher, and we are currently working on a plan on how to best support students, but recognizing that we're in reciprocal relationships, that it isn't simply Joe and I saying what Indigenous students need for enhanced support, but rather rights holders and the Indigenous Education Council and community members and all those that are really invested and are passionate about what their students' experiences should be and what it looks like and feels like in our schools.
Fantastic news. I know that the support worker at Vanier was critical in my daughter graduating. So gratitude to the team and being able to just have that little bit of extra support. And also I really found they have this ability to look at things dynamically and very differently than a traditional way of approaching things. And because of that, Lilia was successful. So I'm very appreciative.
There's huge opportunities to shift the outcomes when we see relationship as the work, not just a part of everything else you do, that you dedicate time to be there when students need you and to listen to what they deem as success.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Can I just tack on to the end of that? And it's dangerous to follow Lelena, but I'm going to try. It's regarding staffing, and just to say, with regards to that reciprocal relationship and staffing, that Lelena and I have a number of ideas that we want to present to rights holders to make those decisions, some creative and exciting ideas about supporting some priority students in different ways and in new ways. But as always, we approach the IEC humbly with our ideas as staff, and then they have their deliberations, and then we move forward. So stay tuned for, hopefully, we just want more and more Indigenous brilliance. I love that they're coming to the Valley and seeing this as a safe place to work and be. And we're really grateful that they're coming. Thank you for the question.
Motion.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. The Board of Education of School District Number 71 Comox Valley received the Indigenous Education Enhancement Agreement update as presented.
Seconded by Shannon. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Great. This motion's passed. Nothing in business services. Under board business, Harold has a little update with our annual trustee remuneration.
Thanks, SJ. Again, just for information purposes, so on page 76, Jennifer was able to provide this briefing note for us that identified the updated figure for the remuneration for the board. So again, as you see in the briefing note, back in October of 2023, so this is the 3rd year this is in place, the board did pass and very consistently with other boards as well, making sure that the compensation is tied to the BC Consumer Price Index. So Finance was able to run the numbers for the May to May, which is produced in June of 2026, and the amount was 2.1%. So per the policy, we were able to change the remuneration for the chair, vice chair, and trustee as per the briefing note. So it just provided for board information to maintain the status quo with the Consumer Price Index. So happy to answer any questions if may, but again, just provided for information at this time.
Sure. Great, thanks again for letting us know.
Motion?
Yep.
Board of Education of School District Number 71 Comox Valley received the trustee remuneration update for information.
Janice, thank you very much. All those in favor? Great, the motion's passed. There's no correspondence. I'll just look to see if there's any questions.
No questions. There's the email that we sent along that will respond.
That was passed on to you. You looked at that? Great. So then we'll just move to who's here. Any questions from anyone? Anything?
I'm Megan Kelly, I see somebody on DPAC. Super exciting to hear from parents and PACs regarding the unique issues their communities and their schools may be grappling with. Could you please outline for both us as DPAC and for anyone watching the process to apply to present, the timelines for submission, and where to find the presentation information regarding guidance on timing and content?
To us.
So presenting to the board, so I think that the information's on the website. I'm looking to Craig and Candace for some confirmation. So is that information?
On presentations that might have some.
Yeah, so let us maybe get back to you, Megan, in terms of the process, make sure that that's well known. And again, with the shift to the committee structure, we'll be able to factor that in as well as make sure that those topics get to the right spot. So the conversation can happen with rights holders and partners and the board all at the same time.
I think there's like the way that it used to be, and it seems like there's a new way, and so making sure that the new opportunity way is known to like everyone, so that you guys get to hear great presentations like that would be lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll take
that's a
look at
great
the
point.
updated policies and make sure that we are consistent. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up.
Good question.
Are there any other questions from anyone or comments at all?
Are you sure?
Okay.
Too early.
Well, yeah, it's not September yet. It's okay.
We'll make it.
You have another month to think of all kinds of questions. Yeah, sounds great. So I guess with that, I'm just looking for a motion to adjourn. Kelsey? Seconded by Shannon. Thank you so much, everyone. All those in favor? There's the last scrapings of a sunset then. Yay! You can enjoy.
All